Hey.
Hey.
Okay, I'm here with Pronax, and I'm going to do one of my reflections. I don't do them that often with CS players, so actually if I do them with CS players, it has to be people where I have like a unique angle I want to go at them from. And so I wanted to talk to you actually because there's not that many in-game leaders in CSGO that people think have any like tactical skill or whatever. Like people actually always complained early on in CSGO, like because Nip was winning everything, like, oh, it must just be like, you just have to get star players. And if you have enough star players and the mix is good, then they just kill everyone okay. It seemed like there wasn't that much tactics. When you first came to CSGO, was it similar to that?
Actually, when I came to CSGO, I didn't want to be the in-game leader when I played in Absolute Legends. So I said that basically I don't want to call because I don't know the game yet, and I don't feel comfortable calling if I don't know the game. So back then it was actually Sneal that was the in-game leader for like 6 months or something before I took over and tried it out.
Okay. In terms of how like tactic stuff worked in the early days, when you say it's like a different game, okay, you had to learn it or whatever, what was different in the early days from 1.6? Like, could a team still work the same way and run simple strategies that you used to run in 1.6?
The thing is, like, I think almost every team except NIP tried to make like strategies every round, like smokes, flashes, just because the smokes was so good and the flashes was new. So everyone tried to play like a different way. But the NIP stayed with the 1.6 way of playing, when every other team tried to play with a lot of strategies, set strategies and flashbang smokes, and I think that's why they got good so fast, because they actually played like the smart way.
Since you said early on in CSGO you weren't like the in-game leader, why did you always do that role in 1.6? Was it something like that just naturally came to you, like I always wanted to be the in-game leader in 1.6? Did you ever like have to do it at a certain time?
I think at the beginning, I think no one wanted to do it, and for me, I thought like if we want to win, we need to have someone making the calls and like to place a structured game, and I think that's why I took the role, because no one else wanted to do it, and then from that point, I always was the in-game leader.
If we remember like the first time when your teams had really good results, like the first one I always think of is like DreamHack Summer 2010, where you guys beat Fnatic and then you beat the MYM team when you were in the final versus MTW. This was like a huge result to go all the way to the final there. Like that is, people think of that as like a fluke because like your team was supposed to lose to Fnatic and then obviously you're supposed to lose to MTW, which you did. Like how did you manage to get all the way to second in a tournament like that?
I actually think that team was really good. We had Exist, who was like, he was so good back then, like, and also Firte, Crystal, and who was the last guy? Nico. And all of them had played in pretty good teams before, so I think it was actually a pretty good team, and I think we deserved it. Like, we played really good that tournament, and we had some good results before that as well.
If I remember that, I can actually remember the Fnatic game you had there. Like you beat them on Dust 2 and Train, I think. And one of the things I remember about that game that was like unusual was your team was like really aggressive on CT sides, and you would like push up super aggressively, which at the time Swedish teams didn't do. They were more like reserved style. And I noticed in CSGO your team does that as well. Is that like your style of calling? Do you like to do that on CT sides?
Yeah, actually I like to do it as CT, and I think actually back in 1.6 the Polish team, like Neo and those guys, used a lot of aggressive pushes, and it worked very well for them. That's why I try to test it out as well, and I think it's a good strategy to use a CT.
Because after that result, the same year, you had like a decent result when you went to Abel at Dallas. Like you got past SK and you came fourth or something. I think it was fourth. And so at the time, like your team looked like it was steadily rising. Okay, like you're going to maybe be like a top 5 team in Europe one day. But I've noticed a problem if you're in-game leader, and I always used to joke with Threat about this when he was in-game leader, which is that if you're in a good team, then when the top teams like Fnatic and SK come and take players, they're always going to take your star players, but they're never going to recruit you because they've already got an in-game leader. So like, it means your teams keep getting reset because all the stars get taken. Did you ever feel like this was a problem for you? Could you sense that pattern is what happens? Like the best players get taken, like Exist is going to go to Fnatic, you know?
Yeah, of course. Like it happened in all of my teams, but at the same time, I didn't really care, because back then I always thought like I'm gonna make a team and take the team to the top. I didn't try to join a big organization or something like that. But yeah, it happens. Like, what can you do?
Because one of the problems for you was like you actually got the problem in that team where right afterwards they were still a good team, but they actually replaced you because then Threat was available from Fnatic and he was like a more famous in-game leader. At that point in time, when you've been in a good team and now you have to go off and find another team or make a new team, did you ever have motivation issues? Did you always think like I'm going to get back to the top? What was your mindset?
Yeah, actually that gave me a lot of motivation because I wanted to make a team and beat them. Like that was my motivation. But I also understand why they kicked me, because back then Fred was a more experienced and game leader and all of them had played with him before, and he just got kicked from Fnatic as well. So I think I understood it, but yeah, it gave me a lot of motivation.
Because I mean, that was the team that basically became Lions the next year, and Threat was still with them for a while. How would you compare, like, what since a lot of them were the same teammates that went into the next year with him? What was different about Threat's style of in-game leaders from yours?
I think Threat used a lot of set strategies. He doesn't I'm more loose. I let my players like do whatever they want. Like we take control over a map, while he just used like, okay, let's make this tactic. And I think it worked for him because all the players like Crystal, Fyrte, they wanted to play like that when I played with them as well. And I think Fred's biggest strength was that the tactics he made them in like all the details was really good. So like they were just good strategies. It didn't matter if you knew what they were gonna to do sometimes. They just won anyway because all the flashbangs and everything was just perfect.
If we think of some of the teammates you had around that time, like if I ask you about a player, can you tell me like an idea of like how you saw him as an in-game leader? Like I should use this guy in this way, or that's what role he's going to be best at. So if we talk about Exist when he used to be in your team, at the time he was only known as like an individual player. People think of him now as like an in-game leader. What was he like as a player then? Like what would you use Exist for in your teams?
I think he wouldn't go for the entry frags. He was a really good clutcher and mid-round player. So you wanted to get him in a situation where you could like sneak around, take a bomb site as the second or third guy or something like that.
Another interesting name was Crystal, because he had a time when he was an SK, but then after that it looked like he was never going to be able to get an SK at Fnatic. He was kind of stuck at that level. What was he like as a player? What were his strengths? He seemed a bit streaky whenever I watched him, you know.
Actually, like his biggest strength I think was his communication, and he also have good aim, and like he hates to lose, so he does everything to win all the time. I actually think he was a really good player. He was a consistent player, in my opinion. He had a good AWP as well, and yeah, I think he was a good all-around player.
After the period where you had the height with that team, you had to rebuild, and you made this team that eventually became, the most famous name was probably when it was ESC, the one that had Modi and Kalle and those guys. When you made this team, it was actually very rare back in 1.6 that anyone had people from other countries. Like usually you were all Swedish if you were in a team. Even in Sweden, if you were the fourth best team, you'd still try and make like all Swedes. Like where did the idea come from to take these like 2 Norwegian players and try and mix the team? Did you have to talk in English as a result?
No, we actually talked in Swedish, and I think I had played a lot with Barbar and Modde before, like in different teams, and they actually joined that team before me, and I think they kicked Sen, a Norwegian player. And they just asked me, because before that I played in a team called Rage with Pita, Pop, Lidde and Sippe, and Pita got picked up by Fnatic, so sure. That team disbanded and they asked me, so I just said yeah, why not, sure. And yeah, it worked out great.
At the time, that was when Modi was like, it seemed like he was like in exile from the top teams, because he'd actually had a tryout in SK, and Fnatic actually said in an interview, like, we don't want him, basically. And so even though everyone said, oh no, he's really good, like he couldn't get into those top teams. Like at the time, he seemed like he was like the main star in your team. Would you describe him like that at the time?
I think Modde was obviously really good. Like I think he had the best aim in 1.6 at the end.
Better than Forest?
Raw aim, yeah, sure. Like I think Forest is a better overall player, but there was no player that could out aim Modde, in my opinion. But I still think like Kalle was the best player in that team overall. But Modde was for sure like the best aimer we had.
So in what sense was Kalle better? Like what was he better at, or what was his skills?
I think Kalle, like he always went for the entry frags. He also had really good aim, and I don't know, he just had an ability to make like 3-4 kills in a round just like that. I don't know how to explain it. It just happened like.
If we think of some of the players you've played with, one of the weird things is a lot of them have gone on to be in-game leaders themselves afterwards. And so Exist is a good example, because when he played with you, he was just like a star player in the team. And then he became in-game leader for Fnatic and then later on for NIP. And so, yeah, he played under Khan for a little while. Maybe Khan influenced him in some way. But it always seemed to me like he had more of an in-game style that was like you and Khan than it was like Threat, for example, who he played with as well. Like, did you ever talk to him about being an in-game leader? Like, what kind of style do you think he developed?
Actually, I never talked to him about it. I think, to be honest, I think he got influenced by Karn, because it was after the period in Fnatic that he became the in-game leader. But yeah, I don't know actually why the players I play with become in-game leaders.
What do you think of his style? I mean, it sounds a bit similar to yours. Like, it's quite a loose style. You kind of like let your star players go where you want, and then the other people maybe have more set stuff.
Yeah, I think it's very similar, and I think it was the style that Karn used in Fnatic as well. So I think that back in the days, like before I become a top player, all teams played with the style, with set strategies and things like that. So I think just it's a new generation and a new style to play the game, in my opinion.
So one person I would have never expected would ever be an in-game leader is Modi, because actually not only was he like a star player, but he doesn't seem like he has the right temperament. Okay, I think of like the in-game leader, he's like a really cool, calm, collected guy, never gets flustered. What did you think when Modi was an in-game leader in CSGO?
I actually didn't really understand it, but at the same time, I hadn't played with Modi for a long time, and he had been playing in SK as a stand-in in Fnatic as well, so I thought like maybe it can work, but I didn't know what to expect, to be honest.
In the latter part of 1.6, like the last years, when you had like the ESC team and the Rage team, like the same lineup basically, it seemed like 1.6 was so, every team knew the game so well and was so consistent that like it was impossible to get past a certain point. Okay, if you did really well at one tournament like Game Goon, where it's like a special bracket where you can win one map and go higher, maybe you could come second. But in general, you were always going to go to the semi-finals, and you're going to play like the Poles or MTW or Fnatic, someone who's better, and you're always going to lose there. How hard was it to win like a best of three over a better series in a best of three series over a better team at the end of 1.6? Was it like very difficult? What was it like?
I think depending on the team, it was like, for us it was always hard to play like MTW, for example, and the Polish guys. But we actually like managed to beat the Fnatic and other teams with the similar styles as us pretty often in best of threes. But we had a very hard time against the teams that like used anti-strategies and things like that, because it was so new to us that people actually anti-strat you. So, but yeah.
Because this seems to be something that carries over into CSGO for you, which is that the teams that you do the best at are the ones who have like the looser style, or they rely on star players. So like out of the top teams, NIP's like actually a team that you have a good chance to beat. But the teams who are like super tactical seem like the harder teams for you. Does it carry over, do you think?
I think the only team like that is really hard for us to play against, I think, is Titans, because they actually like, they have strategies, but they still play kind of loose. And I think like Shoxy always destroys us when we play them. So, but other than that, I don't really fear any team. I think NIP, of course, is really good as well. But other than that, I think we can beat anyone.
When you were in-game leader in 1.6, did you actually have set approaches? Like if we're going to play against a team that has like Forest and Get Right, do you have anything special for them to try and like shut them down or make them not as effective? Do you just play as if it was just any team that has their style? What do you do?
I think a lot of teams, like if they play Forest or Get Right, they actually try to like set them in a trap or something. But we just try to like play like it was any other player, because if you try to think too much about it, you will just shut down yourself and you will get owned basically.
When CSGO first started and NIP was winning every tournament and like, it looked like no one's ever going to beat them, okay, people said like, oh, they must just have the perfect lineup, or you know, maybe like you can't even do super complicated tactics to win in CSGO. If you, at the time, since no one could figure out what the reason was why they always won, but now we've seen them lose, and now there's even potentially a team that might be better than them. What do you think of the initial period of NIP? What was their secret? Why were they so unbeatable, do you think?
I think they had a right style of playing. Like I said in the beginning, like every team in the beginning tried to play with only set strategies. From the beginning of the round, we're gonna do this strategy, while NIP actually played like the way you should play CS. Because if we went to make, okay, let's make the A strategy, then Forest would just go up behind us. Like, and they get every information just because we played like with set strategies all the time. And I think like back then we could like beat certain teams, because when we played any other team than NIP, it was like it's tactics against tactics. So I think that's why NIP won, because they just played like very loose and used the players like what they are good at, like Forest just running up middle on Mirage, for example, and stuff like that.
So then what did you think of the early Very Games style? Because Very Games could beat everyone else, you couldn't beat NIP, but everyone said they had really strict tactics and stuff. What did you think of their early style?
I think, like you said, they had set strategies. It was just that their tactics was better, and they also had very good players. But they couldn't beat NIP, because they didn't play like a style that you need to use against the NIP.
One of the weird things about Very Games was they were still always really good. Even when they changed to Scream and they had that period where they came like 3rd and 4th, they were still always getting really high. But they have these 2 players in their team that have never been as good as stars as they were out of their team. So when they had Kenny S in their team, he never looked as good as he does now, even in bad teams, you know. And when they had Scream now, Scream sometimes looks really good, but he's never as crazy as he looked when he was in like LDLC or whatever it was. So why do you think that certain style players like this, they've never been as amazing in Very Games? Like, do they use them in a different way or something?
Yeah, I actually think like Kines is a good example. Where when I see him play now, he just runs around and do whatever he wants. And I mean, yeah, that's good. That's how you should use him. But he can also, like, if he has a bad game, he will make mistakes that will cost the team. And I think actually Very Games, like, they should have let him have a more free role. But Scream, I don't know. I think he's obviously still good. Like, I think it's just Shoxy that outshines him, to be honest.
So the main difference for Very Games obviously was when they got Shoxy, because even though initially they didn't win, like it wasn't that long after that they started going to the top. What changed about their whole team, do you think, when he came in? Because it kind of just been him fragging, you know. What was different about the team, do you think, when they got Shoxy?
I think they started to play like NIP, like more loose. The players took more peaks, like they became less predictable when they took in Shoxy.
Do people overrate Existence for how good he is with tactics and stuff? I mean, with like the eco round stuff he has, seems like it just works more than anyone else when he always wins that second round. Like, is he as good as the hype of like being like the super genius of CS:GO?
Yeah, I actually think so, to be honest. Yeah.
What are his strengths, do you think?
It's obviously like his ability to lead the team. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's actually really hard to play against them, because it feels like they know exactly what you do. And even if we know what they do, I have a hard time sometimes to counter it. But he always have a counter to what you do, it feels like.
When I thought of your teams in 1.6, so when I saw fnatic do really DreamHack, I went back and watched some old demos, and I was thinking, like, what was pronax's old style? And you actually have like a similar style where it seems like you like to play against teams, okay, who just play like the standard style in general, because then if you do things on terrorist rounds, you know, like, okay, I've made that CT rotate and now I can go in this site. But if you play versus MTW or you play versus Very Games, their whole style is the opposite. Even when they're on CT, they're reading you and they're trying to rotate people to the right side. Is this a good description? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. That's why I always had a hard time against MTW, for example. So yeah, I think so.
When you came to this fnatic lineup, like, even though 4 of the members are the same, the ones who went in DreamHack Summer and went second, the team plays very differently. So what were the first things you changed? Like, what did you look at and go like, okay, that doesn't work for us, or I have to make them do this instead?
Like, when I joined, I just said, like, I didn't even want to know how they played. Like, I just said, like, we're gonna play very simple, take it easy, and just take duels, don't rush or anything, just take the duels, try to kill the enemy, don't take stupid duels, just try to walk in and take like easy kills, and just didn't do any advanced stuff, just try to be good at the basic stuff, basically.
One thing that was strange was when I did all the interviews with the players, after they came second at DreamHack and they sort of figured like, okay, we have to change something, because how are we going to get better than that? Like, we were stuck at this level. It sounds like they kind of like fucked their whole team up, because they put people in roles that didn't make sense. Like, they took like Flusher and then, okay, you're going to be like an entry fragger now or something. What were the set things for each person that you thought, like, this guy should probably do this role, you should do that? Give me like a rundown of the team in that sense.
Okay, when I joined, Snyder was actually like, for I don't know the reason, but he was like the entry fragger. But I thought like Snyder shouldn't go for the entry kills. He has so good aim, so he shouldn't run up first and die. I thought like, okay, Snyder is gonna be the second guy or third guy that goes in and just try to make headshots. And other than that, like I just switched roles on JW and Snyder. So now JW is the player that goes for the entry frags. Snyder is like I said, the second or third guy that goes in. Flusha, we try to keep Flusha like in the clutch situations. He shouldn't die first. And I think Devilwalk is the guy that he does whatever I tell him to do, like this kind of a support player, like he does what no one else wants to do. And I'm trying to like help out wherever I can, just keeping somewhere in the middle to try to make the calls.
In CSGO, the most famous player is Get Right, because he has that style of like wait till the end and then always win the 1v2, the 1v1. And that style, if you don't do it really, really well, will actually like cost the whole team, okay? Because you'll be sort of baiting people so that you can get in a good position. But I saw recently, Lopus made an article where he said that Flusha is really good at this style. And then the more I've been watching Fnatic, it seems like he's actually one of the best at this role as well. Like, did you really, when you came into the team, you decided like he has to do this role? Did it just develop naturally? How did you decide to always put him in that spot?
I think I didn't think about it in the beginning. It took some time. I think it was sometimes after DreamHack, because I saw how good he was at it on DreamHack when I watched the demos from it. But I think he plays kind of a similar style, but not like he isn't going on the other side. Like if we attack B, Flusha won't be the guy attacking A. He will actually attack B with us, but he will be like the third or fourth guy inside the bomb site. So I think we use them kind of the same, but not really like.
When NiP were on top, even when Very Games beat them, I always thought like if I were them, I still wouldn't change anything. Okay, I'd keep the same in-game leader, same style, because it's not like they ever lost by a lot. So to me, it was like, well, first of all, if Very Games lose, you're still going to win the tournament, and then you might even beat Very Games like you did at DreamHack Winter. So if I were them, I would have never changed anything. Okay, but as an in-game leader, can you give me some insight? Like, do you think that how does it change the team? Do you think changing from Exist being the in-game leader to someone else? Like, if it was you, would you have just kept everything the same?
I think actually I would keep everything the same. I think it might be like that Exist actually didn't want to call, maybe because of the pressure or something. I don't know why, to be honest, but I wouldn't make the change, no.
What do you think the difference is when they go to fiflaren now as the in-game leader? Like, what is your sense just from playing them a few times, or what you think his style's going to be?
I think it's pretty much the same, and to be honest, they have actually been playing really good since the switch. So at least against us, I think they are really hard to play now. When we play them on practice, like they actually play really good. So maybe it's a good change. I don't know, but I think like it was so even when they played Very Games before, and they even won against them at DreamHack. So I just don't understand why they had to change, to be honest.
When the two teams play each other, well, the Titan and NiP, even now, even if someone just watched Titan beat them at the last tournament and go, oh, well, I think Titan are better, like it's still hard to know who will win. So how would you break down that matchup? Like, what are the strengths, or like what does NiP have to do to beat Very Games? What does Very Games have to do to beat NiP, do you think?
I think Titan is really good at like they know how NiP is gonna play, and I think it's harder for NIP to actually know what Titans are going to do. So I actually don't really know what they have to do to like counter each other. I think it comes down to like who has the best date. Like I think that's what it comes down to.
One of the things that's always really hard for fans to understand is like what do support players do? Because sometimes they just look like they're dying, or they're going in first and they die, but then you look at the star player kill everyone and you forget that guy had to do a flash early on. So one of the most criticized players ever in CSGO is fiflaren, even though he's won more trophies than almost anyone else except people in his team. What job does fiflaren do in NiP, do you think? Like what are his strengths? What do you think?
I think he does the same job that Devilwalk do for us. Like they put him in like the positions that no one wants to do, because if for example ramp on nuke, if Devilwalk holds ramp, he's gonna try to survive and just go down. He's not gonna take the duels, because if he dies, we lose like one guy and they have ramp and we have no rotation. And I think fiflaren has the same kind of style. Like he tries to set up the kills for the other guys and keep map control, and he doesn't have to go for the kills because he just needs to keep like the map control. That's what I think.
If we make a list of star players in the world, most people are going to put JW up there, okay, and say, oh, he's really skilled, like he could be like a Get Right at Forest or someone. But if you just looked at every game, he doesn't go to the same level they do every game, okay, because they're like almost every game Get Right's like top of the scoreboard, always owning. What holds JW back from being like a superstar?
I actually think like if you look at all the big matches, he always comes up, like for example at DreamHack finals and other when he plays like NIP. I think he is a star player, to be honest. I think he's really good. Like, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, right. Okay, to wrap it up, I want to do like a hypothetical question. So, aliens come to the planet Earth and they kill everyone else in Fnatic, okay? Except you, because obviously you're the cutest. They say, right, Pronax, you're good at building teams, but we want to see an exact team as this Fnatic team, and you have to make every player just using other CSGO players. So who would be JW, who would be Devilwalk, who would be Flasher, you know? Give me each player, but other CSGO players.
Okay, I would take Get Right instead of Flasher.
Okay.
I would take Forest instead of JW maybe.
Okay, this is going to be huge after this, yeah.
And I would take Scream instead of Snyder.
Overrated, yeah.
And then I would probably take... I don't know.
Okay.
I think I would take... Fuck. Exist instead of Devilwalk.
Okay then, yeah. Right, and do you have any final words or someone you want to thank at the end of the interview?
Yeah, I would like to thank our sponsors and go into our website www.fnatic.com.
Tack så mycket.
Tack.